The night was calm, almost too calm. From above, the presidential residence glowed like a fortress of light against the sleeping city. Guards stood in formation, silent silhouettes under the amber lamps. Inside, laughter echoed faintly from the kitchen. A kettle hissed. Everything looked ordinary, until the silence began to whisper. Somewhere inside, a woman moved like a shadow among walls of power. Her name was Giarda, to the world a nurse, to her employers a ghost. She had entered an hour earlier with a forged ID and a lie that rolled off her tongue like prayer. Routine checkup, she'd said. The guards believed her, because trust had become the deadliest weapon of all. In her bag, a black pistol with a silencer. Beside it, a folded photo. Her mother, pale, sick, and waiting. Giarda wasn't born a killer. She was made one by desperation. She moved down the hallway with surgical calm, knowing exactly which cameras blinked and which were blind. This was not her first visit. She knew the rhythm of the guards' footsteps, the creak in the second stair, the sound the clock made just before striking 10. Every detail was memorized, every breath calculated. Target, room 2D, the president's private office. Time 10:13 p.m. Mission 1 bullet, 1 exit. No witnesses. But she wasn't the only one watching. A young IT technician named Hamidou sat half asleep before a wall of monitors. Another quiet night. Then no static. One camera blinked out. He frowned. Logs showed no motion, no entry, nothing. And yet, the timestamp matched someone passing through the east corridor. He typed quickly. The ID that had just cleared entry didn't exist in the system. His heartbeat stuttered. Someone was inside who wasn't supposed to be. He leaned forward, eyes scanning the dim screens. In that moment, the hum of the monitors felt like thunder. "Security, come in," he whispered into his radio. Silence again. Team 2, respond. Still silence. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. Something was wrong. President Ibrahim Traoré sat alone under a warm desk lamp, papers spread before him like pieces of a restless puzzle. The air was heavy with fatigue and thought. He had just finished a meeting with his generals about renewed attacks in the north. His back ached. His eyes burned. He reached for his tea. Outside, a storm gathered in silence. Not of rain, but of fate. Unseen, a door unlocked itself down the hall. Footsteps began to climb the stairs, light, deliberate, patient. The assassin was close. Giarda reached the top floor. She paused near a painting of the Burkina Faso savannah. Dry, golden, endless. Her reflection in the glass looked nothing like the girl she used to be. She pulled a small device from her pocket. A black trigger with one button. A message lit up her phone. Door will open in 2 minutes. Be ready. Sanu, she had never met Sanu, the president's trusted aide. But in this mission, trust was the most fragile currency. Sanu's brother had died in a northern offensive. Revenge, the rebels said, had no expiration date. Giarda tucked the device away, hand brushing against the pistol beneath her coat. Her breath slowed. Her mind sharpened. But somewhere in her chest, a voice trembled. The voice of her mother calling her name. Hamidou's fingers danced across the keyboard, pulling feeds from backup cameras. Then he saw her, a woman walking alone toward the presidential suite. No escort, no clearance. Too calm. His heart slammed. He grabbed his radio again. Nothing. Then a private line flashed across the console. He hesitated before answering. The voice on the other end was smooth, familiar. "Hamidou, I know she's in. Do not panic. Buy us 3 minutes. Sanu?" He whispered. "She has a gun. 3 minutes. Then it's over." The line went dead. Hamidou's hands shook, but his heart didn't. He sprinted out of the control room, unarmed, terrified, but determined. If he couldn't stop her, maybe he could warn him. The door handle moved. A soft click. President Traoré turned his head, calm as a mountain before a storm. The door crept open and Giarda stepped in. Shadow first, then silence. Her pistol rose, smooth and steady. Their eyes met. For a moment, time bowed its head. She saw no fear in him, only calm. Not arrogance, not denial. Just a strange, quiet acceptance. He spoke first. "You've come a long way to reach this room." Her jaw clenched. "My mother is dying. So is this country." He nodded slowly. "And if you walk away, they'll kill her." Tears filled her eyes. If I don't do this, they'll punish her. You know how they work." His voice deepened, heavy with truth. "And if you shoot me, they'll still kill her. Because people who trade blood for power never stop drinking it." Her finger tightened on the trigger, but didn't pull. Seconds passed like hours. Outside, Hamidou was running up the stairs, lungs burning. He saw the open door, saw her inside. He couldn't shout, couldn't move too fast. One wrong noise and it would be over. So he did something desperate. He slammed his hand on the breaker switch. Darkness. The entire floor went black. Silence swallowed everything, except for 3 hearts. Beating in the dark. To be continued. The blackout swallowed the room. Only the faint glow from the city bled through the curtains like dying embers. Giarta's breathing was loud in her ears. She couldn't see him anymore. Only the outline of power, calm and still in the dark. Her finger trembled on the trigger. Then a sound, and soft, slow, the scrape of a chair, and his voice steady as a heartbeat. "If you were going to kill me, you would have done it already." The words slid through the silence like a blade of light. Giarta's eyes filled with heat. She hated his calm. Calm made her weak. Calm made her remember she was still human. Her training told her to pull the trigger. Her heart whispered something else. The gun dipped an inch before she forced it back up, jaw clenched. She whispered, "Don't make this harder." His voice came again, quiet but unshakable. "You still have a choice." Her chest tightened. Choice? There hadn't been choices for a long time. Only commands. Only threats. She could still hear her mother coughing in the dark. Her voice trembling, "Whatever you do, my daughter, don't let your soul die before your body does." Hamidou crouched behind a cabinet, his heart drumming in his throat. He could barely breathe. Sweat stung his eyes. But beneath the fear burned something stronger. Anger. He had grown up in the same dust as the rest of them. He knew hunger. He knew fear. But he also knew the kind of man Ibrahim Traoré was. A soldier who listened. A leader who tried. If Traoré died tonight, the country would bleed again. Hamidou clenched his fists. Not tonight. He opened the private emergency line, whispering into the phone. "We have a breach." Lights cut. "Target in room 2D. Move now." He ended the call and ran toward the backup generator, lungs burning. Giarta sat on the edge of the table now, her hand still gripping the pistol. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "They said you were evil." Her words floated like ash, they always do, he replied. His tone was calm, but there was sadness beneath it, the kind that only truth carries. "They showed me videos," she said. "Said you let people die." He looked at her silhouette, a trembling shadow caught between duty and despair. "Do you believe them?" I don't know anymore." Silence. Then he said quietly, "Do you have a family?" She hesitated. "Just my mother." He took a breath, voice deep with weight. "My family is every soldier who came home in a box. Every child still sleeping in the camps. Every mother still waiting for her son." His words broke something inside her. The gun began to shake. Her heart screamed to end it, to stop this pain. But her soul whispered, "Listen." Downstairs, Sanu stood frozen before the generator controls. The air smelled of oil and dust. His hand hovered over the lever. His reflection stared back at him from a steel panel, the reflection of a coward, or a man trying to undo what he'd done. In his earpiece, Giarta's trembling voice played back from the earlier recording. It wasn't the voice of a killer. It was the voice of a daughter. He swallowed hard. For a moment, betrayal didn't feel like justice anymore. It felt like poison. He shut his eyes and pulled the switch. A deep thud echoed through the corridors. Emergency power surged back to life. The red backup lights flickered, washing the walls in the color of blood. Hamidou shielded his eyes, blinking as the corridor lit up again. He started running. Red light spilled across the room, revealing 2 figures, the assassin and the president face to face. Giarta's eyes glistened with tears she could no longer hide. The gun hung between them like a dying truth, no words, just the sound of 2 people breathing, one fighting to end a life, the other fighting to save a soul. Then, a single drop of blood hit the floor. It wasn't from either of them. Both turned toward the door, where Hamidou now stood, one arm pressed against his side, bleeding from a stray shot fired by one of the inside rebels during the chaos. He staggered. Voice weak but burning with purpose, "Sir, It's not just her. There's more coming. The president's eyes hardened, not with fear, but with fire. He stepped forward, gently lowering Giarta's trembling hand. Then tonight, he said, we end this, not with bullets, but with truth. The red light flickered again like the heartbeat of destiny. Outside, thunder rolled, distant but growing. The storm had arrived. Giarta stood frozen. The pistol hung in her hand, but the fire in her eyes was gone, replaced by something deeper. Guilt, relief, exhaustion. The dim red glow washed over the room like blood, and sunset blended into one. Shadows stretched and trembled across the walls, ghosts of choices, ghosts of regrets. President Ibrahim Traoré did not move. He watched her with a gaze so calm, so heavy, that it seemed to quiet even the air. Not anger, not fear. Pity, the kind that sees the humanity even in its enemy. I'm not the monster, he said softly. Giarta's voice broke, the weight of her mission collapsing inside her chest. Then why does the world keep bleeding? He took a slow, deep breath, the kind of breath of a man who has carried too many coffins in his heart. Because peace, he said, is harder to sell than revenge. But if you pull that trigger, you don't stop the bleeding. You become part of it. Her eyelids fluttered. For the first time in years, she felt the tears she'd buried. Then, a single exhale. The gun slipped from her trembling fingers and landed softly on the carpet with a dull, metallic echo. The moment stretched, fragile, sacred. Then, bang! The door burst open. Armed guards flooded in, rifles raised, boots pounding the marble. Behind them, Hamidou, pale, breathing hard, blood still drying on his shirt. Everyone froze. Giarta didn't move, didn't run, didn't beg. She just lifted her hands and whispered, voice trembling like a confession. I'm done. I'm not one of them. Traoré raised a single hand, stopping the guards. Take her in. No harm. The soldiers hesitated, confused. But his tone was final. As they escorted her out, Hamidou met her eyes. He had expected a monster. What he saw instead was a broken daughter who'd found a fragment of peace. For the first time, he understood. Sometimes victory doesn't roar. It whispers. The air was cold. A single bulb flickered above. Giarta sat on a metal bench, wrists cuffed, but her breathing steady. She wasn't afraid anymore. A soft knock at the door. Hamidou stepped in quietly. In his hand, the phone. He didn't speak at first. Just looked at her, then held the phone out. Your mother, he said gently. She's safe. We found her. Giarta's lips parted, disbelief trembling in her voice. How? Hamidou smiled faintly, exhaustion in his eyes. Sanu's network collapsed the moment you refused to pull the trigger. He ran. We traced his signal, found the safe house. Your mother's there, alive. Her eyes filled. This time not with pain, but gratitude. Why are you telling me this? Hamidou shrugged, voice quiet but steady. Because you didn't kill the wrong person. You almost did. But almost doesn't count, silence. Then he added, maybe it's time people like us stop waiting for saviors and start becoming one. Giarta lowered her head. A single tear slipped down her cheek. The first honest tear in years. Soft instrumental music builds. President Traoré lifts a crate of medicine from a truck himself, sleeves rolled up. He moves through a crowd of villagers, shaking hands, listening, smiling faintly. Tired, but present. His bodyguard watches nervously, but the president refuses to stand back. A leader who fears his people, he says, doesn't deserve to lead them. The camera lingers on him as he kneels beside a child, handing over water, whispering something that makes the boy smile. Giarta sits before a desk, reviewing old rebel communication files. Beside her, a new ID card, Government Intelligence Division, operative restricted. She's no longer an assassin. Now, she's a weapon against the darkness she once served. A man walks alone under a flickering light. Sanu. He looks over his shoulder, fear etched deep in his face. No one follows him. No one needs to. The voiceover fades in, President Traoré's voice steady and grave. Betrayal lives short lives. Truth outlives them all. The scene fades to black. The president never spoke publicly about the assassination attempt. He didn't blame. He didn't punish. He simply went back to work. Hamidou left the control room for good. promoted not to a title but to a voice the president trusted. Giarta disappeared from the public eye, but whispers say she works in silence now, protecting the nation she once tried to break. And Sanu. His name still drifts through encrypted channels, a ghost of a man who thought vengeance could heal pain. The narrator pauses. Music softens. Sometimes the greatest act of power is mercy. Sometimes the loudest victory is silence. And sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is not pull the trigger. The world is full of noise, rage, lies, fear, but between all of that, there is always a moment of choice. One moment that defines who we are. If this story moved you, share it with someone who still believes in second. Chances, like, subscribe, stay strong, and remember, your choices matter.